Hi guys, so I've decided that it is about time that I would do a watercolour flower portrait for you. All I've done so far is just taped it down so that when I pull this off I'm going to have nice crisp borders. I don't always do that, but I want to do it for this one. And I have printed off some reference photos. Honestly, usually I would print them off in black and white when I draw them, and then I would print them off in colour sometimes to paint them. Often I will just go with the black and white for painting as well, because when you've got it in black and white it actually shows up the shading and you don't get caught up with the colour. Because I want to make these tulips red and I've got purple, peach and pink, if they're black and white I will be able to see where I need my darkest red and where I need my lightest red without being caught up with the fact that they're purple, peach or pink. So this is really just for you guys so that you can see my reference, and I actually recommend that you print them off in both and give it a go with the black and white. I know it sounds strange, but I find it a lot easier, especially if I'm changing the colour of the flower from what it was originally. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in because I cannot draw like this. I need it kind of elevated on my lap, so it will be a bit of a different angle. All right, back soon. Okay, so hopefully you can see all right. It's still very early in the morning here, so I do have my curtains open, but it's a very overcast day as well, so I'm not getting a lot of light, and my light in my room isn't giving me a lot either. All I've got is an HB pencil. I wouldn't have it too sharp, just in case you want to rub out the lines. By the way, you can actually rub them out through watercolour without affecting the watercolour, with the paints I use. And I will be using a very cheap tin of paints. I do have some better quality ones, but I want to show you that you don't need the high brand watercolours. And in fact, I actually like sorry, the transparency of the cheap ones. The more expensive ones are more like a dry gel rather than a chalky colour, and sometimes they come out too opaque for my liking. So as you know, I've got this on the side, so I will just start drawing, and I'm probably not going to do a lot of talking while I'm doing this. I will say tulips are actually not a flower I have drawn or watercoloured before, so we'll see how we go with this. Might come out terrible. Just going to do a bulb over here that hasn't yet opened. Now this is a little canvas, so I'm not going to put too many in. I was thinking 3 because I do like to do odd numbers. For some reason the eye seems to like that a bit more, so I might just hide something slightly behind this one. Make it a bit smaller so that it looks like it's further back. I always add greenery. For some reason, greenery always helps with the contrast with flowers. I've done flowers that haven't had leaves. Well, I do them last, and when you put in the greenery, it just brings the whole picture to life. Now, these aren't in any particular photo. This is just where I'm choosing to add them for the composition. Like I say, this could very well be a disaster because I've never done tulips before. Oh dear. Okay, so I'm happy with that. My next layer will be starting with the watercolour. So I'll just set that up and I'll be back in a second. Oh, I'll just show you. So this one here, I pretty much took the reference off that one. This bulb here, I took the reference off that one. And this guy here, I just took a bit of reference off that one. So all different colours, but I've just used their shapes. Okay, back soon. Okay, so I have a clean jar of water beside my bed and I have just a variety of sizes of brushes. I do prefer the shape. A lot of watercolour artists use different shapes and I think that's fine. This is my little box of cheap paints. As you can see, they are very well used. They keep going and going. If you wet them, they dry out and you can use them again. So I probably won't be able to get this all on camera, but I will do my best. So just because of how I'm sitting, I will try and set up a little bit differently for you. Hang on a second. Okay, that's about the best I can do. So still using my reference photos, I'm just looking for, I'm going to start on this one, and I'm just looking for the darker areas, and I'm going to make this a really loose watercolor for you, which is the easiest to start with, and then if you are a little bit more advanced, I can show you the detail that I do at the end. So again, unless I've got something to say, I won't be talking much. I do just have a rag here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bit too much water on there, so I'll just dry my brush and keep putting it onto the rag. It's also a really good way to remove colour so that you can get your light spots. Just water on my brush at the moment. Best advice I can give here, which I haven't done, is wait till that dries before you do one next to it, because if you do hit that line of water, they'll bleed together.
this one is behind the other one, so it's definitely going to, I'm going to put a bit of shadow in there. Sorry, got a little bit of a frog in my throat today. When you hear the water, I am actually taking all the paint off my brush. And I don't think ones behind, if you're painting loosely, actually need a lot of detail. I think if you do one that looks reasonably like a tulip, you'll find that the other ones end up looking like what they are. And quite often when you add the green, like I say, you'll notice that you immediately start making them look like flowers, whether they are or not. Yeah, so when you hear the water, either I'm changing a colour, which you would see, or I'm just getting water on my brush because I've already put enough colour onto the canvas, and I just want to use the water to dilute it and spread it upwards for the lightness. There we go. So that's 3 tulips. Now before I do the next step, which is adding like really fine detail, that would definitely need to dry. Okay, so I'm just going to put some colours into the green, and as you can see, it's quite a grey green. It's not a bright vibrant green. I think this one here is just how it's been photographed. I think this is a lot more natural, kind of a eucalyptusy colour, I guess. A lot of watercolour artists work with a palette where they mix their colours to check that they're right. I kind of just fly off the seat of my pants. And I guess, sorry, that's something that you kind of just get used to. The more you paint, you just tend to either fix it up if it's completely wrong, or more often than not, it's actually usable anyway. There's a brush here and there. Quite often I'll actually go around my watercolours in black ink pen, especially when you are beginning. That helps a lot. You can get, I will show you the brand that I use in a second, because they're great pens and they are waterproof, so you could actually put the pen drawing on first and use it as an outline just to fill colours until you get used to doing it this way. See, that's too bright, so I'm just going to dilute that a little bit with this green, bit of water, so that I can use it to spread it. Now the top of that's actually far too green for me, so if I add water into it and then take my dry brush into it, I can remove some of that colour. You could even put more water into it if you want to make it even lighter than that. Just doesn't make sense to me that as it's getting closer to the sun that that's darker than that, because my darkness needs to be down here. So yeah, if you want to go past the step and you want to add a bit more detail, that's where your pen can come in handy, whereas I will add the detail just as an example with a brush. So there you go. Often in my watercolours I actually like to let this dry, and then I will get a really weak version of these colours and just put smudges in the background. So I might put a little smudge of red up there that just fades out to nothing, just to imply that there might be more poppies in the background, more tulips in the background. Do the same thing with the leaves, get a really light watery colour and just put some colour back here, just so that it gives the illusion that there is more than just these. But that I need to dry, so I'll just quickly go off camera and I will dry that, and then I will come back and show you how I just put a little bit more detail, like these little lines that would be on the flower naturally. Okay, I'll be back soon. Okay, so she's dry now, and while I was drying it I just thought I probably need to show you what I mean about that loose colour in the background, because I'm not going to be very helpful if I don't. So yeah, that's about just adds more depth. It's very subtle. See how that red's gone into that green? I do actually quite like that. I'm not mad at that. It kind of looks like the red tulip is reflecting off the leaf. Really subtle blobs. Just an easy way to fill some gaps. you go. So although, you have to excuse my lump in my throat, hope I'm not getting sick again, even though I was quite happy with it the way it was, just with the 3 tulips, I did want to give you that example so that you can see that just implied colour still makes it look like there might be a field of tulips there rather than just the 3 that we've painted. Okay, so I'll just dry that again. I'll be back in a sec, and I will just show you. I'm not going to show you much because I actually like the pencil behind it. I like this detail. I'll just lift it up. I like this detail in here that the pencil's giving. I don't mind that at all. But if you wanted to, you could rub that out through the watercolor and it will disappear completely. Okay, so back in a second. I just need a really small brush. Needs to be smaller than this guy. Okay, so this is the size brush I'm using now, and I don't want you to think that I started off painting like this, because I certainly didn't, and everything I learned I was self-taught, and I was watching YouTube in order to learn this. So at the end of this video, shame or not, I will show you my first ever watercolor print. Watercolor painting, which is terrible in my opinion, but I just need to show you that practice does pay off, and the more you do it, the better you will get, I promise. Okay. Oh gosh, I can't believe I said I'd do that. Now I'm gonna have to do it. Alright, that's fine. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get a little bit of quite solid red, and I'm just going to do a couple on this one. I'll just look at my reference. And what you do, I'll try and lift this up, is you just do a really thin line like that, and then you get water on your brush, and without going into the right side of the line, so you don't want to touch, just make sure I can, this is very hard, don't want to touch that side of the line. You just want to get the very tip of the brush and with water fade in one side of the line. So hopefully you can see that detail that I've just put there. I'll do another one in a little bit darker with a bit of brown and red. Holding this up like a pizza at the moment, so you can do a couple, and then you get water on your, well, a clean brush I should say, just with it's a little bit wet, you don't want it dripping with water, and again just go up one side and blend that in, and that's how you do your shadows and your detail. And if you have a really, really small brush, you get a colour that is almost the same, and you only use the very, very tip of it, and you can put some really fine lines in. And if you do find that they are too much, again, reasonably dry but still damp brush, and you can just softly blend that in. There you go. Really hope you can see that, but that just gives it a little bit of overall more detail, and it starts looking just a little bit more real. So I really hope this has helped. I'm just going to put a little bit more dark in here. I hope you will give it a go,
and I hope that my terrible photo that is about to come up after this will give you some inspiration to give it a go. It's something that you do need to master, but once you do, you'll be really happy with it. So last step, I just need to dry that little bit there quickly. Last step, and this is not proper masking tape, so here's hoping it comes off neatly, is removing that. I really like this border. It looks even neater if you know how when I was doing the colours in the background, if you take these colours right up to that edge, because then you get a really prominent border. But there she is. I hope my first go at tulips has given you some inspiration, some ideas, and a cute little thing to add to your journal. And then I would just sign it subtly down the bottom, because for some reason people prefer it when I sign my artwork. So yeah, happy painting, and please don't judge the photo that is about to be shown. Love you guys as always. Thank you so much. Bye.